Woohoo!
Hello, my sewing friends. This is Friday Sews, and I'm Jen, and that's when we talk about sewing in life. So let me talk about some sewing. I kind of started to settle in to the whole Christmas sewing kind of thing this week, and I accomplished a couple of things. First off was this tiny little t-shirt. What is it? When you sew for kids. It's made from fabric from Joann's, and it's got little glow-in-the-dark parts on it. It's kind of a space astronaut kind of print. And no one will ever know except me and probably my daughter, who is the mom of the Munchkin. But the whole front is cut upside down because I didn't realize it was a one-way print. So the back side is correct, but the front isn't. Well, I had dropped the knife on my serger and forgotten to put it back up. Actually, I thought I did put it back up, but mine, there's a problem with it. I have a Juki serger, and when I flip it back up, the knife, um, it doesn't want to come up. So I have to like get in there and lift it with my finger. And it's fine, but yeah, it's kind of an annoyance. But I didn't realize it didn't go back up. I just forgot. So when I was doing the neckline here, it wasn't cutting off the edge and making a clean, edge stitch like it's supposed to. And so I looked at it and I thought the shoulder seams were all wonky and the back of it looked terrible. So I decided I would put a piece of binding on the back, as I had seen Carol from So Carol do, as she had seen the French seams do it. I forget what her first name is, but she's Irish. So I'll link the tutorial that she did up here. It just looks very professional. I just took another piece of this knit and then I just made that piece. So on the inside, it looks really nice. And it covered up all that mess that it made with my serger. And I ended up raising the knife. Well, duh. Anyway, so I got that done. And it's ready to go. Was a little more trouble than I thought it was going to be, but oh well. I finished up my, where are they? Prosperity hens. these things. Okay, now I made these. It still needs a bell at the bottom, but I made these as a response to a challenge for November for a group that I'm in. And you were supposed to make something with ties. Well, I always want to be unconventional in the things that I make, kind of let the creativity flow. And so I made these prosperity hens. They're like little chickens. You can kind of see. They're pretty pathetic. When I really look at them, I think, oh, come on. I do want to try this again with some really pretty quilting cottons, but it is what it is. I think there are 12 of them here. And I found another one because, when I first did it, I thought I only had like 8 or 9. And I thought, I know I made like 12 of those. So I made some more out of some of the fabric that I had put together in like patches because I had it left over. And so like this one is 2 different fabrics and the one before that is a couple of fabrics. You know what? I just didn't even care at that point. I was thinking it is what it is. It's not perfect, but you know what? I'm going to go ahead and give it to my daughter and she'll probably love it. And if she wants another one that's better or prettier, then I'm going to go ahead and make her another one. Actually, I think I'm going to make a couple for Christmas gifts because they're just kind of a nice little thing, maybe it'll bring prosperity to your house. I think that was the original intent or the thinking in the Indian culture, where if you had a flock of chickens, you were very prosperous and I don't know, on your way to wealth, maybe? I don't know. I was feeling very overwhelmed and I made myself a list of all the things that I need to sew for Christmas. Okay, I'm on track now, right? Okay, so I go shopping. Actually, I needed the wooden beads for the prosperity hens so I could string them. I looked everywhere in my garage, all the places that I should have had the beads, which I think I may have given away to, like, I don't know. But I had no wooden beads. So I had to go out and I just kind of put a whole lot of errands into that trip, and I needed something from something from Dollar Tree. I think it was two things, and I can't even remember now what they were. But I walked over, they've got all their Christmas stuff out, and so I wanted to get new pot holders because you know how pot holders are. You go to take something out of the oven and it spills or whatever, and all of a sudden your pot holders are starting to look a little, like they need to be replaced. So I bought some. I bought two different ones. One is Christmas tree and one is poinsettias. And I then was at Hobby Lobby because I needed to look for those wooden beads. I couldn't find them at Walmart. So I didn't want to go in there, but I did. And I stood in line as you do at Christmas. But I found two of these little towels. And I thought they were really cute and a little bit different. They're those hop sack towels. So I took the poinsettia and one of the towels, and I redid our little towel that hangs on the oven because it looked sad. It was sad when I made it the first time, and I thought, okay, let's upgrade that a little bit. So I did. There are 100 variations on this. If you just Google it on YouTube right now, you will come up with every one of them, endless scrolling of, how to do it. So anyway, I upgraded that. And if you want to do that, you should. It's a very nice, cute way to kind of be festive. So that got done. Well, okay, last night I was in here and everything was such a mess. I had things piled on the floor, had been for weeks, and I couldn't deal with it anymore. I thought I was frustrated because of a project that I was working on and it wasn't going well. And I was, getting more and more like, oh, but that motivated me, and I was ready to go to bed, shut everything off, walked out, and then I thought, what I'm going to do is go out in the garage and find some plastic containers, because if I can find one and consolidate a lot of that stuff into one bigger container rather than the couple of smaller containers I had down on the floor, I'd be in good shape, right? Yeah. So I went out there and I actually I emptied a plastic container because I didn't have one that was clear that I could see. So I have out in the garage, I have two plastic containers full of all kinds of things, but things that I don't need, like interfacing that's like stabilizer if you're going to embroider something or, stuff like that. So went out and I emptied one of them into the other one, and it all fit. I couldn't believe it. So I took the empty one and I brought it in, and then I found another flat, roll under the bed kind of one, and I brought that in, and I thought, okay, let's get this stuff all consolidated. And then I looked over and I have three little bins that I say little, they're not that little, but they're underneath my ironing board. And I thought, well, didn't I take a bunch of stuff out of those? Yes, I did. And those things, I started putting things back in them, and they are so stuffed full, I can hardly push them back in there. But you know what? I didn't even need that plastic container. I don't even need the plastic container that was under here because it was like a cube. And so I emptied that out because it had all that kind of stuff in it. It's like stuff that needs to be finished, or, refashions that I want to do, or something I took apart so that I could use it as fabric, that kind of thing. And I've got notes on a lot of them. So it's not like it's just random stuff. I mean, it kind of is, but But anyway, so I got everything off the floor, and it's all put away, and I didn't even have to use a plastic container. So I won't have anything under my table, which means when I go to roll my table out, which I did yesterday and the day before, I won't have to get around any kind of container that's back here on the floor under the window. Yay, huge win. Well, in going through all that, I found a tablecloth. It is a tartan plaid. It's red tartan plaid. It's just a circle tablecloth. It's probably for like a 48-inch table. Well, when I pulled this out, I held it up and I thought, I could make a circle skirt for myself out of that. I always make them for the girls, but I thought, I'll do that. If I have time, won't take long, but if I have time, I am giving myself permission to not do that. Also, if I have time, because today I was watching YouTube, and I saw where there was an influencer who had a jacket, like a cardigan, then it tied in the front. And I thought, ooh, I would love to have one of those to wear on the plane when I go back up for Christmas. I have a pattern like that, and I've never made it up. So, yay, it fits into the slot of only make things that you have not made in the past. So, it is Vogue 1663. This came out in, oh man, I got my contacts in again and I can't see, 2019. It looks like that. Isn't that a beautiful, beautiful jacket? So it ties in the front and it's got this beautiful pleating on the back. And that's what really drew me to it. But I thought, right there it is. If I have time, I could push this to, 3 days before we leave and probably get it done. I don't know. I don't have fabric for this. I just went through and looked at all my knits. It takes a stable knit. So if I'm going to make it, or if I think I might, even if I want to make it for on into the winter when I travel up north, I'll have to order the fabric. So I better get on that, huh? Okay, the big star of the show came just a little while ago, like less than an hour ago. It's in this massive big box, and it's the flannel for the pajama pants that I'm going to make. And I asked for a 20-yard bolt and then a 5-yard piece. So I got 25 yards. Oh my gosh, this is heavy. And it looks, get that out of the way. And it looks like this. It is beautiful flannel. I'm so pleased. It's a little bit thin, but that's good because most of my family lives in cooler or warmer climates. Like Virginia doesn't get that cold. And, if you have really, really thick pajama pants, maybe you like the ones made of fleece. I'm not wild about those. But, this isn't as thick as Snuggle might be, but I think it's perfect for the people of us that live in Florida. There are 4 of us that live in Florida, and then there are 4 that live in Virginia, and it doesn't really get that cold up there. And you just don't want to be hot, do you? No, you don't want to be hot. So this is the tartan plaid that I got. 25 yards of it, so I got to get going on these pajama pants. Just make a couple pairs and just see how it's going to go. You know what? You make one pair and then you start to go, oh, if I did this, it would make it easier. So it's a pretty easy pattern as it is. I've got it laying here somewhere. I forget what it is. Simplicity 9. I don't know. It's 9 something. Oh, it's over there. Anyway, I'll put it on the screen. It's here. It's here. I don't know if I should wash this. I'm not sure. I'm going to look at the fabric content and see if it's liable to shrink. I don't know. So that, I got it going on. That's all the sewing. That is all of the sewing. I'm going to skip life because nothing really is happening. I've just been in here pretty much nonstop thinking all the while, you should go swim. You should go swim. And I can't. I don't have time. I have projects going and I need to stick with it and not lose my momentum. So I don't really have a little bit of Jesus for you this week. I have a Christmas song that I want to read you the lyrics from because it's amazing. I love it. But first I want to tell you a little bit of history about the woman who wrote it. She was a poet and her name was Christina Rossetti. If you know poetry, you probably know her name. She lived from 1830 to 1894 and she was in London. I think she lived her whole life in London. She wrote this poem in 1872. The actual song was arranged by Gustav Holst. The thing about hymns, I learned this back when I was in Bible college and I took hymnology. And there are tunes that are associated with songs in the church. And a lot of them are duplicated. So you can take a tune, this one's called Cranum, and put a poem to the tune. So that's what Holst did. It's kind of like Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star and Happy Birthday. You know how they're the same song basically with different lyrics? That's that idea. Back to Rossetti. She had a happy childhood, but a bad temper. And when she was 14, apparently she had a nervous breakdown. Now, it's anyone's guess what that was in the mid 1800s. I don't know, but she did. Depression and illness followed that. And later she was diagnosed with Graves' disease. And then later on in her life, she had breast cancer and had a tumor removed in the Victorian age. I think I just would have lived with it and then died. But oh my goodness. She ended up dying of cancer. I don't know if it was breast cancer or not, or maybe it metastasized. I don't know. She became an Anglo Catholic, which is kind of a merging of the Church of England and Catholicism. And in fact, she was engaged to a man who became a Catholic after they were engaged, and she said, "I'm not going to marry you because of that." There was another man to whom she was engaged earlier than that, but her father died, and there was a lot of stuff that went along with that that prevented her from getting married. She was an avid stamp collector, of all things. A little bit of trivia there. She was published officially around 1850, and at that time, she also was hit with depression again, and kind of a religious crisis. I think it probably had to do with all of the influences of the poets of the day. For example, I think, if I'm not mistaken, Elizabeth Barrett Browning was one of her contemporaries. Please correct me if I'm wrong about that, but it was right around the whole thing. Now, when I hear depression and illness, I think introvert. But she apparently was not an introvert at all. She had a wide circle of friends, and she also wrote another poem called Love Came Down at Christmas. Now, I don't know if that's been set to music, but I would venture a guess that it has, and I will be looking that up later. So she is commemorated in the Church of England on April the 27th. I find that fascinating. So that's a little bit of history about who wrote this song, both Rossetti and Holst. But James Taylor did it on his album, his Christmas album. And of course, you know, that is the be all end all of Christmas music for me, is James Taylor's Christmas album. Because beyond the hymns, the arrangements of the songs that he does, there are a couple that I don't like, or I'm not overly fond of. Actually, I think there's only one, but he did this song in the bleak midwinter, and he kind of condensed the lyrics down in a way that, you know, kind of made it his own. So I want to read you those because I think the poem is a fairly long one, but these bits of it really hit hard with the meaning of the poem. In the bleak midwinter, icy wind made moan. Earth stood hard as iron, water like a stone. Snow on snow had fallen, snow on snow on snow. In the bleak midwinter, long and long ago. Angels and archangels may have gathered there, cherubim and seraphim rising in the air. You think? Oh, but only Mary, in her maiden bliss, worshipped the beloved with a mother's kiss. She worshipped God as a newborn, her newborn. This just blows my mind. Heaven cannot hold him, nor can earth sustain. Heaven and earth shall fall away when he comes to reign. New heaven and a new earth. Wow. Just, I see what I mean? What then can I give him, empty as I am? If I were a shepherd, I would bring a lamb. If I were a wise man, I would know my part. What then can I give him? I must give my heart. That chokes me up. It really does. It just chokes me up. Isn't that fantastic? You know, it's not an old hymn, but it's the best. It's the best of the ideas and the truths that surround the birth of Christ. So I will leave it there. If you have anything else to offer, please leave it in the comments and I'll talk to you there. And thank you so much for being here, and Merry Christmas, and I will see you soon. Thanks for watching.